Welcome, welcome everybody. I'm just getting my Zoom going and starting the webinar in all the places. We've got YouTube, we've got TikTok, we've got Zoom going. So yeah, welcome everybody. As you're joining, I would love for you to put in the chat where you're from. I always find that super interesting where people are from. And if you are with me on YouTube or TikTok, you are not, well, TikTok won't be able to see my screen. I can share this on, I can share this on YouTube. Here we go. There we go. That's better. All right. Welcome, Scott Starry Nights. That's cute. Cute name. Starry Texas Nights. Very cool. Becky and Daydreamer and we also have, let me get back to Zoom here. We have Carmela and we have Anne. Welcome. I'm so glad that you guys are here. I'm just going to share my screen on Zoom. And yeah, we're going to get started. So here's the deal. For those of you who are new and don't know me or maybe haven't been to a webinar before, we're at the top of the hour. So we got lots to cover today. And so I am going to move quickly. If you are with me, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Zoom, just engage with me in the chat. I love to know what's resonating with you, what you relate to, what you don't relate to, what's confusing. And if you have questions, if you're on Zoom, if you put that in the questions box, then that makes it way easier for me to keep track of as far as who may have a question. So let's get my chat box going over here. And all right, we're going to get started. So I'm going to start out with a prayer because I am a Jesus lady and I'm faith-based. And my faith has really been an important part of this journey over the last 4 years. So I'm going to start by saying a prayer. Feel free to join me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for our time together. And thank you just for the ability to speak into the lives of the people that are able to be here and to the people who are going to be watching the replay afterwards. And I pray that each person can find just one thing, just one simple step, one way that they can continue to move forward after listening to what I have shared today. We ask for your wisdom and your guidance and the hope that you pour into our hearts and our soul. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so what we're going to cover today, I'm going to walk through a shortened version of my story. I get a lot of questions sometimes, like, are you even a widow? Are you really a widow or you just talk to widows? Yes, I was widowed. So I'm going to share my story with you about why Brave Widow even exists and why I do what I do today. Then I'm going to walk you through the 4 seasons of grief. And while ultimately I could spend hours and hours teaching you everything that you could know about each season, our goal today, because we only have an hour today, my goal today is to share with you, if we were to boil it down to just one simple step in each season, what would that step look like? And then at the end, I would like to invite you to join what I call the Brave Widow Academy. And because I'm a life coach, and as many life coaches, my job is to help people make decisions and take action. Then I offer what's called a fast action bonus, which means if you take one step and one decision, then I have some fun bonuses for you. So, are you guys okay with me sharing that at the end? Put it in the chat. I would love to know. If not, we don't have to cover it today, but if you'd like to hear about that, I would love to tell you. So, in the next 60 minutes, you will be able to know your season of grief that you are in right now and your one next step. Your only job at the end of our conversation today is to decide if you would like help with where you are in that season of grief. I also have a totally free quiz that you can take at bravewidow.com. It's at the top of the homepage. That's just like take this quiz and learn what season of grief you're in. Do you remember like the quizzes we used to take in the magazine or on BuzzFeed or whatever that's like multiple choice? I think it's maybe 10 questions. It will take you like 2 minutes. All right. So um this is a picture if you're on Zoom or YouTube with me. This is a picture of my family in 2021. So today, I'm very blessed and honored to share that I do love my life today, and I'm incredibly honored to have the job that I have. But if you were to ask me a little over 4 years ago if I would ever be sitting here talking to you on this live stream, I never would have been able to imagine that this would be possible. Just over 4 years ago, I watched as an ambulance took my husband from our home for the last time, never to return. I worked in healthcare for 20 years, and so I felt relief when the ambulance came and got my husband. We both had had COVID that morphed to double pneumonia. So we had been bedridden for a week or two, and I finally felt like he was going to get the help that he needed. And he ended up in ICU. And I told my kids, like, hospitals are where people go to get better. Like, it's going to be fine. Over the next 11 days, he would be in the ICU. Of course, these are COVID times, so I wasn't allowed to go to the hospital. And about half of that time, he would end up being placed in a medical coma, unconscious, and on a ventilator. And one day I was called, he had lots of ups and downs. He was getting better, getting worse, getting better, getting worse. Lots of ups and downs. I was watching his lab results on like the MyChart app. And one day I got a call that said, "Hey, the doctor really wants to talk to you about next steps." And I thought that meant like next steps on the road to recovery. But ultimately, there would be none. In fact, there would be no warmth. There would be no kindness. There wouldn't even be a simple smile. I would sit in a cold room as a physician sat across from me and said, "Well, we think your husband is brain dead." In that moment, my world just stopped. And I try to wrap my mind around, like, how is this possible? Like, how did we get here? How, like, he was getting better. How are you sitting here telling me you think he's brain dead? And what do you mean you think he's brain dead? Like, this is something you like need to be sure about. And so ultimately, they ran some tests. They were able to then make the call on their own. And I didn't even know the results of the test until after I was suited up, pushed in a room, and basically told, if you want to say goodbye, this is it. Like, this is your chance. I then tried to figure out how was I going to go home and tell our four teenagers that their dad was never coming back. 3 weeks later, it was what would have been our 20th wedding anniversary. In fact, I'd already ordered the t-shirts. I'd already made plans for family and friends to come over to celebrate. And if you can see my screen, you can see I'm wearing the t-shirt. So 3 weeks later, we still had family and friends who came together, but instead of a celebration of love for 20 years, we came together as just almost a celebration of life and honor for Nathan. And so instead of that being a day that I faced with joy as a wife and a mom, now all of a sudden I face that day crushed as a young widow. About a year later, have this, you can see this memorial garden here with the bench in the garden. I had this garden built for Nathan because I thought, oh, this would be like a beautiful place to honor him and to just sit out there. I lived out in the country. I'm like, oh, it'd just be a really nice place to just go and relax and just think of him. But instead of feeling comforted by this garden, I actually felt tormented by it because every time I went out there, I would just sob and cry and just I was like being tormented by the fact that he was never coming back. And so I remember very clearly one day, it was a fall day, where I was sitting out on this bench and I am like crying, and not just crying, but like sobbing with that guttural sound from the pit of your stomach, like clenched over, hunched over, clutching my chest because my chest felt so tight and I could feel my heart pounding. And I had a moment where I thought, like, this is it. Like, this is how people die of a broken heart. Like, this is it. This is just going to happen. And eventually the tears stopped, as they always do. And I remember sitting there thinking about our four kids, and I was just kind of looking around and thinking about how sad it was for my kids, how sad it was that people didn't show up for them, how sad it was that even though their dad was the one who died, that effectively it was like both of us had died because I felt dead on the inside. I felt like a hollow version, a shell of myself. And I'm like, well, that's really sad for my kids that, like, basically they've lost two parents now. And so I remember, though, thinking that I had a decision that I had to make. I could either live the rest of my life this way, in which I really didn't know how I was going to survive this, or I could decide that I was going to figure out whatever it took to get on the other side of grief, to build a life that didn't feel like the shadow version of myself. And so I remember closing my eyes as I was sitting on this bench and saying out loud, Nathan, I love you and I miss you and I can't do this anymore. Like, I have to figure out how to move forward. And I opened my eyes and I got up and I walked inside. And that really was the start, like the catalyst of me obsessing and diving into learning everything I possibly could about grief, about why grief is so hard. Why can no one tell you how to get on the other side of grief? Why does everyone just say to wait and it will get better? Like, I'd been waiting over a year and it wasn't getting better. And so I started interviewing other widows. I launched a podcast called The Brave Widow Show, and I had all sorts of widows and widows come on the show and tell their story and share what helped them, like what helped them start to rebuild life, what helped them find joy again. And I went through the faith-based life coaching academy. I went through Grief Recovery Institute and got certified and licensed to facilitate that course. Like, I just truly went all in to figure out, like, what does it take to get on the other side, and why can nobody tell me that? Why can nobody give me the roadmap through grief? I'm so happy and deeply honored and grateful to share that today I can say I do love my life, genuinely. I did not know if it was possible, but I'm here to tell you that it is. I've done all sorts of things, amazing things that I never thought possible. I did a ton of work to heal my heart, to intentionally rebuild life through all the weirdness and the awkwardness and the challenges. Like, I clumsily figured it out. I've traveled since then. I've traveled to 5 new countries. I've started public speaking. I got to meet Dave Ramsey in person and like thank him for everything that he had done for me and my family. I even started real estate investing, which was something I never thought I would do. And I even just over a year ago remarried the most supportive, wonderful, amazing person and gained a bonus son in the process. So, my approach to serving widows, what is different? Like, how do I view working with widows? Is that I went through a very rigorous life coaching program and also learned from some of the best of the best. I teach this program right here grief recovery method, which is evidence-based. I love the fact that it's evidence-based, proven to help people with grief recovery. And so for me, how I think about it is that grief recovery and emotional healing is our foundation. So we don't stop there. This is really where we start, but it gives us a good foundation that then we can start to rebuild our entire life on top of this foundation, which teaches us tools, which equips us with the ability to navigate grief and this new life, having those tools when grief gets really hard. So, grief recovery method is the only thing outside of Brave Widow that I recommend. It's the only program that I 1,000% stand behind. So, whether or not you do it with me, like, go do it. You can find tons of people online that offer it, and it's amazing. So, you may be wondering, am I in the right place? What did I sign up for? Why am I here? Well, you're in the right place if you are tired of feeling stuck, numb, or lost, and you're tired of just getting by. Does that sound familiar? Put yes in the chat, or put me, or put an emoji. Like, tell me if that sounds familiar. If you've maybe tried grief groups or therapy or giving it time and it's still not getting better. If you're tired of waiting for Diana's like, yes, Christine is yes. If you're ready to stop waiting for life to feel better and you want to start creating a future for yourself. If you are not in the right place, if you're not ready to take action, but rather just want to wait for time to make it better. If you're looking for a quick fix, if you're unwilling to try something different or invest the time and energy, or if you live in the mindset of, I can't, I can't do it. It would not be for you. Okay. So most widows that I have worked with and that I speak to, they have tried what feels like all of the things, right? They've tried therapy, they've tried books, they've tried grief groups, they've tried just giving it time. And in many cases, those things have worked for them some. Like it has helped them feel better or it has helped them process some of the hurt, but they still feel like what is next? What am I supposed to do after this? Like what is the next step? Carmela's like, yes. Um, and so you might be like my client Wayne. Wayne had tried counseling. He had tried grief groups. In fact, he shared his story. I just published this today. He shares his story where he was going to like a grief share or a counseling or a grief group like every single day. And he was ready to give up. It wasn't resonating with him. It wasn't working for him. He felt like he had tried everything and it wasn't working. And one of his friends, who is a client of mine, actually recommended that he join us when I was teaching this class here, grief recovery. And by the second session, he reached out and he's like, what else can you help me with? Like, this is good. This is great. This is helping me. But what else can I do? Like, what comes after this? And so some of the things that he said was, I don't want another counselor. I was ready to give up, but Emily gave me hope when I had no hope. Like he had gone months and months and months with no hope. And after our very first call together, he said he had more hope in that first call than he had had in months. Okay. So when I think about like, why is this so hard? Why is it so hard to figure out how to go from being in grief to healing your heart to building a life that you love again? The three most common problems, and tell me if this resonates with you, the three most common problems are that widows feel lost, like they don't know what their next step is. They feel unsure, and so they're like second guessing every decision, or they feel incredibly lonely. Like everybody's abandoned them, no one sees them, no one's helping them, no one's there for them. They just feel incredibly lonely. The problem that I faced, and the whole reason Brave Widow even exists, is because I wanted to know, like, what is the roadmap? What do I have to do to go from being in grief to creating a life that I could actually love again? Have you guys been in there? I was like, what's the checklist? What do I have to do? Right? I'm just out here trying to figure it out. So, what I have created is a roadmap for you and a roadmap for anyone who is in deep grief. And we have a framework that's called RISE. And RISE is this framework to help you move through the 4 seasons of grief. Okay. So, you're going to notice like the first season of grief starts with an R. See where I'm going? Rise starts with an R. Where the first season of grief is rawness. So, this season of grief, you may feel completely overwhelmed. You might feel like you're living in survival mode. Does this sound familiar? You feel like you're in fight or flight mode, like your nerves are on fire, like you're constantly on edge. Like you can't think clearly. You might have brain fog. It might be hard to make decisions. It might be hard to think about like the future just seems impossible because all you want is your old life back and all you want is your person back. And it just is completely all consuming. Okay. Mistakes that people make often in this season are we have to do more. We have to be strong. We have to power through. We have to distract ourselves from grief, or we're supposed to like grieve alone. And so, in a season of grief, we think we have to do more and more and more and get out there and take on more tasks and now we have all these responsibilities and if I had a nickel for every time someone said like, "Oh, you have to be strong for your kids now. You have to be strong." I'm like, "That isn't helping me." I know that and isn't helping me. I wanted someone to tell me, "Guess what? You don't have to be strong right now. You don't. You can just exist." And so, what I teach widows to focus on in this season of grief are things like emotional healing, lowering the expectations you have for yourself. It's like the opposite of what we think it is. Like, we think we're supposed to do more and more and more. And I coach widows on doing less, on finding rest, on knowing how to ask for help or accept help, on creating moments of physical and emotional safety so that we can calm our nervous system down so that we can rewire our brain that we're safe and it doesn't need to protect us and it doesn't need to put us in fight or flight mode all the time, that we're okay, and to create a sense of routine. Now, that sounds like a lot, a lot of things to be working on. So, if I had to sum it up and just give you one thing, if this sounds like the season that you're in, if I was just going to tell you one thing to do, in this season, it would be to be gentle with yourself. Doing more and more and more isn't being gentle with yourself. Piling expectations on your shoulders isn't being gentle with yourself. Feeling like you have to be tough and strong and keep going forward and not let anyone down and all of those things, that's the opposite of what we want to do. Taking time to heal your heart, to allow yourself to really process the horror and the trauma of what you have experienced, that's being gentle with yourself. When Nathan died, he died in July of 2021. And normally we would always host Thanksgiving dinner over at our house. He was an amazing cook. Me, not so much. He was the cook. He was amazing. And I just had to tell my family, like, I'm not hosting Thanksgiving this year. In fact, I'm not even going. You guys need to find somewhere else to go. I said it in a nicer way, but I'm like, I can't even fathom trying to handle hosting Thanksgiving dinner and doing all of these things and jumping through these hoops when I can't even get through the day. I can't even think about the next hour. And so I coach widows and widowers on being gentle with yourself and lowering the expectations that you have without wallowing in the guilt, right? Fallen says, "I'm so tired all the time." Yes, grief is physically exhausting. So, I want to tell you just really quickly about one of my clients, Michelle, and you can see her story on my website and watch her video. But when I met Michelle, she's a young widow as well, about my age. She had 4 kiddos, And she felt completely overwhelmed by grief, even though she wasn't a new widow. She'd been widowed for quite some time. But she just felt like she couldn't get a consistent routine. She wanted to physically exercise more. She wanted to not be overwhelmed by the house, not be overwhelmed by the kids, not be overwhelmed by everything. And she also had lost her confidence and her purpose. She felt like her husband was the one who gave her all of her confidence and that that was her purpose was taking care of him and taking care of the family. So after I worked with Michelle, I think when I first started working with her, on a scale of 1 to 10, she had rated her confidence like a 2 or a 3. And within 6 months, she got on the call and she rated her confidence a 9. And she was like, oh my gosh, I just like I'm not even the same person I was 6 months ago. Like she's like, look at me, look at all the things that I'm able to do and I'm able to focus on now. So during the time that we worked together, she figured out she actually had a hidden talent for singing, and she joined a singing group online, and then she flew to where they were having a singing group meetup and hang out with those people. She established boundaries with her teenagers and the kids in her house. She was able to structure a routine for taking care of the home, and she became consistent with a routine for exercising and for movement so that now instead of feeling exhausted when she's with her kids and her family, she felt energized and she felt like she could show up for them and her cup was full. She wasn't running on fumes and running on empty. Here in the picture that you can see on, if you can see my screen, is another client I have named Lily. And this picture that you see of us in these graduation caps and gowns is the Life Coaching Academy I graduated from. The two of them decided to join. And so this was me just a few months ago at their graduation from the Life Coaching Academy. So Michelle has started her own business as a coach, and Lulia started her own business as a physical trainer and nutritionist, which was like amazing. And so I got to go to their graduation. Is it only for widows? No, we have widowers. And in fact, I just published today a video from my client Wayne, who is a widower, and what he has to say. One of the things that Michelle says in her video is like, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. All right. So we had Rawness is our first season of grief. Isolation is the second season of grief. So let me know if you resonate with this season. I watched it. It was very powerful. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was deeply grateful that he shared that. Okay, so when you are in isolation, Carmela is like 150%. Okay, good. I'm glad it's resonating. So when we are in grief, I think about it kind of like we retreat into a cave, right? We're focused very inward. We're focused on surviving. We're focused on like just getting through the next moment, the next hour, the next day. But at some point, you come out of survival mode and you move into what I call like maintenance mode. And this is this isolation season of grief. Angelica says, I lost my baby brother in 2021. Tragically, I'm in isolation. Sorry, Angelica. And Diana's like, yep, that's me, isolation. Okay, well, good. Well, I'm going to share with you some things that you can do in this season. So, in isolation, we also tend to recognize that in the first year, widows often lose 75% of their social circle, is the statistic that I read. And so what happens is like we're in survival mode, we're in the cave, we start to come out of the cave and we look around and it's like, where did everybody go? Hello, I'm here by myself. Where did everyone go? I feel incredibly alone, unseen, and uncared for. And so, what mistakes people tend to make in isolation is number one, they wait to feel ready. Like, oh, well, I guess now I have to make friends, but I can't do that until I'm ready. Or, oh, I guess I need to start figuring out what I want now in life. I need to feel ready. Um, I need to, they join groups that don't fit. They, ghost people that invite them to do things. They're kind of floating through life. And a lot of times it's where you start to come to this realization of like, okay, I'm not in survival mode. I have healed some in my grief, but like, is this it? Like, is this the rest of my life? Is this the next 50 years now? Is this like this life? Really? What am I supposed to do next? We often feel lost and alone. So I felt like a tiny little boat in the middle of this huge ocean. I felt untethered. I didn't know which way to turn the boat. I didn't know what step to take. I didn't even know who I was anymore. And all I knew was people kept telling me if I would give it time, then it would get better, and that wasn't working. That's all that I knew. But that was the scariest point for me was feeling like I didn't know who I was anymore. And so when you are in isolation, we work on a lot of times what we work on in the academy or with my clients is confidence because in isolation, we want you to plug into a community. We want you to explore who you are going to be now so that you can figure out what is your identity? Who are you now? What do you want in your life? And we start with dreams and goals that are really small. So often in this season of grief, people feel like I'm not sure I want a future. I don't even know what that could look like or what I want. And so here we start with something really small of like, okay, what do you want more of in your life? Do you want more adventure? Do you want more gentleness? Do you want more connection? Like, what are some of the things you want more of? And we start incorporating more of that. So, in isolation, if I had to boil it down to one thing, it would be to connect with a friend. Not 25 friends, not making 30 friends, right? Like, look at your network of existing friends and family. And I know they've like probably fizzled out, but there might be one or two people that you want to reignite a relationship with. Or you may consider taking a class, exploring a hobby, going to a church or a place that you like to volunteer, but find one friend that you can start to reconnect with. Okay. Karen is with us in the chat. Welcome, Karen. This is her part of the story. You're just in time. So when I met Karen, I can't believe it. It was almost a year ago now. It was right around Black Friday. I ran this crazy deal for Brave Widow, and I was really trying to get more people to join. Karen just joined during that time, and as we started to work together, what I learned about Karen is she had been grieving for over 3 years. It was almost 4 years at this point. And she just felt really overwhelmed with parenting, overwhelmed with boundaries at home and at work. She very much felt unseen and unheard. Her employer required her to get counseling and to try grief groups. And she said it didn't resonate with her. She said her counselor basically told her it had been long enough, she needed to move on. And she didn't like the people in the grief groups, or maybe, she tried to share some things in the grief groups and they didn't like how she shared it. So they told her she needed to be quiet. And she just felt like it wasn't working with her. But when I was sharing about Brave Widow, she's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna put my credit card in. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. And shortly after, her employer actually sat her down and said, "Hey, it's you've been grieving for a few years now, and we need to see some changes here." They put her on a performance improvement plan, which, if you've worked in the corporate world, is like a wake-up call. Like, you got to change, or we're gonna make a change, right? And within 3 months of us working together, she started with Grief Recovery, that program I told you about. She started with that. Within 3 months of her working together, not only had she started to actually process her grief, but she learned how to start implementing some boundaries. She finally felt seen and heard. She learned how to regulate her emotions and how she interacted with people. And not only that, for herself, not only did she give it everything that she had, but her employer sat her down and they're like, "What are you doing that's different? Like, you're not even the same person. What is going on here?" And she's like, "Well, I've been doing this thing called Brave Widow and it's really helped me." And they sponsored her to continue coaching and to be continue to be part of Brave Widow because she had changed that much in a short amount of time. Now, is Karen perfect today? Does she never get sad and her life is magically fixed? No, of course not. But what I want you to take away from her story is that it doesn't matter how long it's been. It doesn't matter if it's been years. It doesn't matter if you've tried other things and it doesn't work for you. It does not take a long amount of time for you, not only you to start noticing a difference, but for other people to start noticing a difference too. And so one of the things Karen said in her video was that being part of Brave Widow has been an answer to a 4-year long prayer. And I'm so glad I did this because it changed my life and gave me a new outlook on life in an extremely short amount of time that I never expected. But it happened and here we are. And so I love sharing Karen's story and I am so grateful she lets me share it because she's done an amazing job. All right, self discuss. So we had Rawness season one, isolation season two. Now we're on season three, which is self discovery. And self discovery is all about figuring out who you are now and what you want for the future. And this is where most widows tend to get stuck, is between season two and season three. And the reason for this, I must have it later on. The reason for this is because this is where you are in like exploratory mode. You're in exploring mode. So we had like survival mode, maintenance mode. Now we're in exploring mode and we're trying to figure out what we might want life to look like again. And it's really challenging, and most widows get stuck here because you take a step forward, you try something new, you feel like you put yourself out there, and then this big wave of grief rises up and smacks you down. Or you're like me and you decide to take yourself to the symphony and you sit next to an empty chair and you're excited about going. But then when you're there, all you can think about is how you shouldn't have to be there by yourself. And everybody's looking at you and everybody knows like you're the weird person by yourself. And why did you even try this? It's pointless. Like so many people get discouraged in this part of the process, or they feel like they're doing it wrong or they feel like I was doing better, but now I had this really hard day and I feel like I just lost all of my progress. Like it's a confusing part of the journey through widowhood and grief. And so some of the mistakes that people make in this season are feeling guilty, like, oh, I shouldn't even want to try this. I shouldn't even, like, why would I try to do these things? Why would I put myself out there? I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't enjoy life. Or they give up too quickly. They believe that they're going backwards, or they hold back from trying things because they're so fearful and anxious and full of doubt, right? And it's like the negative thought spiral of like, oh, what if I go in there and everyone's gonna know I'm alone and they're gonna be looking at me? And what if no one likes me? And who would want to be my friend? And why would I even try to do this? Like, people are gonna make fun of me. Like, it's just the bombardment of all this negative self-talk. Okay. So, when we are in season three, what we want to focus on are trying new things. Remember, I mentioned in season two that we work on building up our confidence. And one of the reasons we work on building up our confidence is because we need confidence when we get to this section, right? When our nervous system is all keyed up because we have gone through the loss of a person that we love, then our decisions and our actions feel like the stakes are really high. You know, it feels like if you make a wrong decision, oh, then I'm going to be bankrupt and then I'm going to be homeless and then I'm going to mess up my kid's life. Like it just feels like every little thing you do If you do the wrong thing, it's really going to be bad, right? So, what we want to focus on in this season is taking risks where the stakes are low, creating safety for us to try things, to make decisions, to meet people, to make friends. We want to create a capacity for what they call both and, right? Which is I love the life that I had. I love my person, and I'm sad that they're not here. And I can love the life that I'm building now. And I can appreciate that. And that doesn't take away from how I felt about the past. It's both. I can feel both. I can be sad my person isn't here, and I can experience joy and feeling proud of myself of like who I am now. I can hold both emotions at the same time. So I teach widows how to do that. We want to focus on being in a community of other people on the same journey. Have you guys noticed that there are a lot of widow groups and a lot of grief groups, but they're not all focused on growth. They're not all focused on healing. Some of the groups out there are focused on follow your heart, do whatever you want. You know, if you deserve it, you deserve to do whatever you want. You deserve to, whatever decision it is, hook up with all the people, have friends with benefits, you know, drink as much as you want, party as much as you want, go on, we call it retail therapy. We give it a cutesy little name. And ultimately, it can be and can have long-term damaging effects. And so you want to get plugged into a community of other widows and widowers who are on the same journey that you are on. Okay. We also want to work on proactively rebuilding your social circle. So that might come from existing friends and family you've had in the past. It'll come from other widows and widowers. And I also teach you how to meet people and make friends with people who share your values and interests that have nothing to do with grief, that have nothing to do with your past. Because we don't want everyone to be looking at you and wanting you to go back to the way you were. Because guess what? It's not going to happen. And if nobody's told you that, I'm sorry to be the person to tell you that, but you aren't going to be the person that you were before. How could you be? And it's okay. We get to grow, we get to expand, we get to be like amazed at how much we can grow and develop. And so if I had to boil it down to one simple thing to focus on, one simple step in self-discovery is to try something new. Try something totally new. And we have a whole process for this where we go online and do Google searches and do Facebook meetup searches and all of these things to find new things in your area. I live in small town Arkansas with like 9,000 people. So if I can do this, trust me, you can do it. So quickly, just want to share about one of my clients, Casey. When I met Casey, again, she's a young widow. Her daughter was, I think, 5 months old when her husband passed, and she had been a caretaker for him for several years. And she felt frozen, like she felt like she just couldn't move forward. Her house was exactly the same. Decisions felt really heavy, and she felt like therapy had helped her with the past, but it wasn't helping her with the future. And so her like realization was when she heard me talk about that story I shared at the beginning. And I talked about how my kids had lost their dad. I didn't want them to also feel like they had lost their mom. And she said, when you said that, I resonated with that. Like I didn't want my daughter to feel like that either. She can't afford to lose her mom. And so after working with Casey, she's done lots of updating and remodeling in her house to make it feel more like her. She feels more present and steady in her parenting, a lot more calm and energy and being consistent, and she has clear next steps. She's able to make decisions that sometimes are tough decisions without going into a spiral, without second guessing everything, without like worrying if she's doing the right thing. Like she has momentum and that has become her new normal. So one of the things she says in her video was, at first I kept everything the same, but now I can change things and feel okay. Diana is from Arkansas. Whoop whoop. Go Hogs. All right. So in her video, she also said therapy sorts the past and coaching helped me focus on the future. All right. Whew, you're still with me. We're on the fourth season of Grief. Hello from Monterey, California. Hello, JD. So we had rawness, isolation, self-discovery. Now we have empowerment. Okay. So we actually, believe it or not, in season three, because we're trying new things, we get to have a little fun. It's all about exploring and being adventurous and figuring out what you would like to look like life to look like. And in season four, this is like where we ultimately are wanting to go. This is feeling empowered. This is like you are very clear who you are as a person, what you want in your life, and you are actively working towards that. Okay. So some of the mistakes that people can make in empowerment is people pleasing. You guys aren't people pleaser. Do I have any people pleasers in the house? I got some hearts with that, so I'm gonna guess yes. Feeling that you are a victim of your circumstances or settling for less. So these are some common mistakes for people in this season. So when we are in a season of empowerment, what we want to focus on is being very clear about your future desire and what you want. And so at this point, you will know, you will be much more clear about what you want. You are going to focus on pursuing meaningful goals, on growing yourself, and on even leading or mentoring others. So Brave Widow's been around right at it 3 years now. And I have some widows who are ready to step up and they are ready to help coach others or mentor others. And on calls, they're very open and do such a great job at helping others. Okay. But if I had to boil it down to one simple step in this fourth season, it is to decide what you want more of in your life. And so in the beginning, this seems like impossible or really hard, and you may have tons of doubt that like, why would I even want a future? Because my person is not here, right? Like that's kind of how you feel earlier on. But once you reach this season of grief, you're clear about who you are and what you want. And yes, you would love for your person to be here. And also, you're like, wow. Wow, if my person knew this version of me, they would be like blown away. I'm doing things I never thought I would do. I've become so much more like my perspective on life is sharpened. I am just so much more developed, emotional and emotionally intelligent than I was before. Okay, so let me share with you about one of my clients, Sue. Sue was one of my very first clients. She took a chance on me 3 years ago in joining Brave Widow. At the time, I was just starting, and I think the first thing I sold was like $7. And Sue joined shortly after that. And when I first met Sue, she hated being called a widow, which I totally understand because in the beginning, I hated it too. Like it felt like a black label, like, eh. It felt like in my mind, a widow was like a 90-year-old sad, poor cat lady that sits at home all day, right? Like that wasn't me. I didn't want to be called that. I hated it. I hated the fact that I was going to be associated with that now. And she was very unsure about what she wanted for the future. She felt incredibly lonely and disconnected. But over the past couple of years here, Sue has done some amazing things. She has traveled to new places on her own, like not knowing anyone there. She's become very active in a lot of different communities. She's always going to some new retreat or conference or event. She's even met some of our other Brave Widow members in person because she travels and she's like, hey, well, I'm here. Let's just meet up. She has a grief support group. She has a book club. She has written a best-selling book. and she co-authored two other best-selling books. Like, oh my gosh, this lady has just done so much that like I'm just so proud of her and her journey. And now she loves being called a widow, not because she's glad that she was widowed, but because now for to us being a widow, like that's a badge of honor. Like widows are the most resilient, generous, caring, giving people, like non-judgmental people, like, oh my gosh, how can you have experienced the one of the worst things a human can experience, gone through one of the most stressful life events ever, and yet you are willing to help other people? You want to make the journey less painful for other people? Like, that's amazing. Heck yeah, I'm proud to be a widow. I'm proud to be part of that group that not only survives that, but learns how to thrive and then also turns right around and helps reach out their hand to the person behind them to say, hey, I can help you. Hey, it's going to be okay. Like, that's amazing. Osu says, I used to hate being called a widow until I met Emily. So, this is just a recap of the four seasons of grief, rawness, isolation, self discovery, and empowerment. So, I'm curious if you guys have identified what season you might be in right now. Put it in the chat. I want to know. And if you take the quiz, it will help you know. And I will say, of course, this isn't to put anyone in a box or give them a label or categorize them. That's why we ended up naming them seasons. It's very transitional. You might feel like you're going between one season and the next, between season two and three. Yeah, that's very normal. In fact, that is where most widows get stuck. And I have on my screen, like most widows get stuck right here between season two and season three. And it's that vicious cycle I talked about often that keeps us kind of stuck in that area. So here's the thing. You do not need more time. Okay? Time is required. Like time is an ingredient in our recipe of moving through these seasons. But time alone isn't the only thing. Like I think about it like if I, let's say, if I want to get really strong, right? I want to be able to deadlift 300 pounds. I don't know if that's a lot, sounds like a lot. But if I just give it time and I sit on the couch, am I going to get any stronger? No. But if I go to the gym for 8 hours tomorrow, will I be able to deadlift 300 pounds? No. So what does it take? It takes time, right? Like I can get stronger over time. But what is the key? The key is time plus consistency, time plus action. That is what gives us results. That is what gives us a different life, is time plus action. David says moving between three and four excitedly. That is amazing. That's amazing. So, the problems that we have as widows, if you remember in the beginning, I said we're lost, they're unsure, and they're lonely. So, the solution then is that we need guidance, we need confidence, and we need connection. And so, what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like? Well, I have to do my puzzle on TikTok. It likes to know that I'm still active. Okay. For me, how I help widows is when they're lost, we have coaching. When they're unsure, we teach them to take action to build confidence. When they're lonely, in the academy, they have a sense of community. Okay. So remember, I told you in the next 60 minutes that you would know your next step, your season, and your next step, but your job is to decide if you want help. And so if you would like help, beyond what I shared with you today, then I would like to invite you to join the Academy. Karen says, I'm in empowerment and carry the title of widow proudly. I'm not the widow Martin sitting in a corner in a long black dress. Yes, exactly. Exactly. You're doing amazing things. She was just telling me that she is like teaching a choir of like 200 kids, and I can't imagine. I can't imagine what that takes. What is the Academy? Well, it's a group coaching program that goes over a 6 month period. And in there, you are in a group with other people who are on the same journey. We also have a private messaging app that we use so you can get support like 24/7. You can post in the group and other people will weigh in. I also weigh in as well. And we have a structured curriculum of everything that we walk through. Next round of the Academy starts on November the 10th. And for people who pre-enroll, I have some fun bonuses and things for you if you're ready for that. Okay. So, what is in the curriculum of the Brave Widow Academy? So, step one, you learn to heal your heart. We go through grief recovery method. Okay. And some people go through it before they go through the academy, or some people do it parallel. I can help you decide what would be better for you. Okay. This is step number one. Step two, we get out of survival mode, we escape survival mode out of season one, and we're going through the chaos to calm blueprint. Step three, you learn how to rebuild confidence with the self-trust system. Step four, you learn how to meet people and make friends. Like, how does someone at this age meet people and make friends? Is that a thing? Yeah, it's a thing. Okay. So I have the connection protocol we go through, so you learn how to do that. Five is find purpose and meaning in your life with the Discover Your Purpose plan. And step six, we create a life that you love again with the Move Forward method. So that is the curriculum that we walk through week by week and that we also coach on. Okay. So, what do people in the academy actually say? I know we're running short on time, so I'm just going to have this up on the screen. But some of the things that people say is like, one of the added benefits is that we get to learn from each other as well. I treat this academy experience as if I were in school and I try to absorb as much knowledge as I can. People say things like, thank you for sharing your heart about your struggles. I really appreciate it. Um, a lot of good comments here that you can see for those of you who can see on my screen. But the overall sentiment is like, okay, here's one. It's a relief to know I'm not the only one struggling with family problems. I believe that no one can begin to understand what widows are going through unless they've been there. Thank you to my new friends. So it's really been such a great experience here. So inside of the academy, and so I see a question, are the Zoom calls only on Mondays? I work on Mondays for the academy. They are, currently we do the academy on Mondays, and then right now I'm also doing open office hours on Thursdays. And I'm working on an evening option as well. So I can't fully commit to that yet because I don't know what that's going to look like, but I'm working on getting some of our Brave Widows to help host some sessions that would be in the evenings. But right now on Mondays, it's 4 to 6 Eastern time, 3 to 5 Central time, 2 to 4 Mountain time, or 1 to 3 Pacific time. And it's an investment of $3,000 or $600 a month if that's easier for you. And yeah, I told you I had a fast action bonus. And so basically what this bonus is this is the first time you're hearing about the academy. You're like, I don't know, is this a good fit for me? Would this work for me? Is this a good option? So what I would like to do is just invite you to book a consult call with me where we can talk about the academy. I also do one-on-one coaching, but the academy is like a really great place to start where you are in a group environment, but you can also get one-on-one feedback from me consistently throughout the program. We also track all of your progress. So we track things like, you remember how I mentioned Michelle rated her confidence a 3 and then she ended at a 9? We track it every single week. We have a progress tracking form. We have you rate different categories of where you are. So we get a baseline. We're checking it every week. And then we end up with a final result at the end so that you can see things that are difficult, like how do I quantify how I feel about grief? How do I quantify how I feel about relationships? Well, we're going to track it. And so on the fast action bonus, if you schedule a consult call, if you go out before Sunday, schedule a consult call, then I'm going to offer a like VIP onboarding call, which is a private call where we will come up with your customized Brave Widow plan. And I will help you know over the next 6 months what to focus on and exactly what order. So in the academy, we focus on the curriculum and I walk you from A to Z through that curriculum, but then you'll also have your personal plan. So let's say confidence isn't an issue for you, like you have no problems with confidence, then that one's not going to be first, right? Maybe for you, it's about rebuilding relationships, or maybe for you, it's about developing a routine. Like I will help you prioritize which things to focus on first. And you also get access to all of the recorded calls that we've had in the academy. So you get access right away to the full curriculum. You don't need to do any work for it beforehand, but it's there for you to go through it or to kind of pick and choose which ones you want to watch before we get started in the live calls. And then you also get early access to messaging in the group. So we have 4 people who have already pre-enrolled for this round of the academy. And so you can start messaging them, interacting with them. And we have 2 pre-launch calls that are going to be happening before we go live. And if you decide to prepay your academy tuition, then I'm also going to offer you your choice of a Brave Widow hoodie or a sweatshirt. I will send it to you. And the prepay in full also lets you save $600 off of the total price. So that's an option. And all you have to do is schedule a consult call. It doesn't have to happen before Sunday, but just go out before Sunday and pick a time to do your consult call. And if you decide to join the academy, then these bonuses are going to be yours. All right. If you have any questions, just put them in the chat. I know we're running a little bit over, so I'm going to wrap it up in like 5 minutes. Scheduling a consult call, a lot of times for people is intimidating or it might seem really difficult. It's super easy. You just go to bravewidow.com. There's like a let's chat button or a schedule a consult call button. You pick a day and time, you put in your name and your email, and either you can pick Zoom, we meet on Zoom, or you can pick phone call and I'll call you and hit book and you're done. And the consult call is not high pressure. It's not a big sales thing. I'm not going to ask for your credit card over the phone, okay? And what I will do though on a consult, whether or not you join, it doesn't matter. But I have a form with questions that I walk you through. You will see it on my screen if you're on Zoom. And I will type in all of our notes. I will outline for you, like step by step, okay, based on what you've shared with me, I would start with this, then I would do this, then I would do this, then I would do this. And I email all of that to you. Whether or not you join, it doesn't matter. Okay. So even if you're like, Emily, there's no way I'm joining, and you get on the call, I'm like, all right, well, then we got to make this 1 hour count because that's what we got, right? We're gonna like get through this and really make it meaningful. And I will send it to you and you will know, okay, Emily says I should focus on these things in this order. Well, I can go do that. And yes, you can YouTube how to make friends. You can YouTube how to build confidence. You can, work on those things yourself. Like you absolutely can do that. Just being part of a structured program and having a coach in your back pocket helps propel you forward a lot faster. I've hired many, many coaches over the years, and I have 3 coaches I work with right now on different areas of my life and of my business because I don't want to spend hours on YouTube. I don't like stumbling around trying to figure things out. Like, I value my time and I value the ability to learn quickly and to implement and to just like, I just want someone to tell me what is my next step. That's what's important to me. So, for those of you who feel that way, the Academy is like a perfect fit for that. All right. Whew, we got through a lot today. Thank you guys for joining. I am going to send out a replay on YouTube. So if you would like to watch the replay, if you weren't here for it all, or you missed something, or you want to take notes, It's going to be available for free on YouTube. You can go back and watch it. And again, like I would love to help you figure out your one next step when I do lives, like when I do TikTok or Instagram or YouTube lives and we do live coaching. Several of you here in the chat know that I like doing coaching in the chat and just helping people figure out where they are now, what they're struggling with, and one thing that they could focus on to take a next step forward. So I love doing that, and it's my way of giving back. So schedule your call. All right, I will see you guys later. And again, you can catch the replay on YouTube. Bye.